Hey, so today I want to talk a little bit about the ego and how it affects the world around you. So a lot of people may think that they're better than other people, or their ego makes them think that. Now, here's the thing, that's not true. It doesn't matter what kind of things you do, what kind of things you have, and over what type of skills you have as well. In the end, we're all subject to the exact same gravity. We're all subject to the exact same heat of the sun. And we are all going to die. And we're all going to be buried in the exact same dirt. I know it's a little bit dark to think about, but really puts you into the perspective that when you really think that you're someone better than someone else, that's not true. You're just a different stage of life. That's it. And your life situations are different. So today, I have a big example. I set up an appointment with a big businessman. It seems like he knows what he's doing well in the game, in real estate. However, I set up an appointment today with him to meet at 10 a.m. and he said we're going to meet. And regardless of what he does and how good he's doing in business, he stood me up at 10 a.m. Okay? I was waiting here for 30 minutes and I decided to make this video. Reason being is because it doesn't matter what kind of stuff you do, you're still subject to the exact same laws and rules and morals that affect every single other person. So by him being late, that by him doing all these stuff in the real estate, it doesn't mean that he can just stand up a 19-year-old kid which he made an appointment with. That just reflects the kind of person he is. So the ego makes it really the ego really fucks with your actual sense of self, because there's two selves. You have your mind-made ego, which is essentially fake. And then you have your higher consciousness that's very, very deep within you, and that really represents the essence of who you are. So let me put it this way. So we truly have two things in our mind, that two personalities or people in our mind, and whichever one we decide to get accustomed to is the one that's going to reflect our outside reality. So the ego is very the ego cannot get its identity, because the ego is an identity, and the ego gets its identity from the past and from the future. It cannot withstand the present moment. Reason being is because, for example, let's say 5 years ago you tried to ride a bike. You failed. You weren't able to ride the bike. Now your ego takes that and labels it into your personality. It's going to say, oh, I'm just not good at riding bikes, and period. It's going to label it, and that's what's good. The ego is going to be based on. And also the reason why it's also based on the future, because the ego, it sounds crazy, but it tries to predict what the future is going to happen based on the past. So let's say if you had a bad experience with your bicycle, let's say you're gonna try and ride a bike again, then the ego is gonna be like, oh, I failed in the past, so I'm probably going to fail again, so I might as well just not do it. And this is false. This is absolutely baloney. I like that word, and I really think it's hurting people, because it doesn't let them just be. The ego is a false made of self that derives itself from past experiences and situations, which really, if you think about it, past experiences and situations do not define you. What defines you is who you are, and that is way, way beyond physical time, whether it be past or future. You are you right now, and that's who you are. The ego cannot, whether it's deriving its sense of self from the past, that is not you. And it's very, very hard to think about, because a lot of us are very attached to our egos, because it's just safer. That's what we have been accustomed to, and it's very hard to let go of something that you've lived with all your whole life. So just really here, another exercise is one exercise that will help identify if you are ego attached is, why do you do the things we do? Ask yourself this. So why do you do the things you do the way that you do them? So ask yourself, why am I not a good student at school, per se? And your answer might be just, I'm not smart, or I'm just I'm not talented in school, or whatever it is. The reason is because you had a childhood trauma that you did bad in school, and your teachers reinforced that you were bad in school, your parents reinforced that you were bad in school, and now look at what you label your ego. Your ego labeled you as being bad in school and not smart, and this just creates a chain, because once you have one negative thought pattern, thoughts are self-reinforcing. So whatever you're going to have, whatever negative thought that you have, for example, not being smart, that's going to say, oh, I'm not smart, I'm not able to do this, I'm not able to do that, I'm not able to do that because I'm not smart. And it just creates a loop and a rabbit hole that you're going to go through, and that's just going to lead you to a very dark place, and none of us want that. So really try to look at yourself. Another exercise is stay still, stay present, just think about the present moment and try to hear what your ego has to say. So your ego is that little voice in your head that's going to tell you that's going to tell you things like, for example, like I said, I'm not going to be able to ride the bicycle because I didn't ride it before. So really stay still and pay attention to from your consciousness to your ego. And the reason being is because once you know that that's not you, because you're watching the thinker, then you realize that is not you, and it transforms your sense of self and who you are, because you're no longer attached with this mind-based ego. It really works. It's hard. You have to start, because sometimes a hard part is that you may think that you're watching the ego, but the ego is coming right through the back door and it's watching. It's you, your ego watching your ego, and that's not it. You have to observe the thoughts from the ego without judging. Just observe them as they are, and just be. That's one key thing. I think that's very important. Like I said, that we're all subject to the same laws of gravity and everything else. We're all human. We're no different from one another. We're all brothers and sisters. So I really don't see why the things you do or the things you are going to make you better than someone else. So I hope you guys enjoy. Let me know what you think.